President Ralph and fellow Rotarians, it's my honor to introduce a distinguished Rotarian, an accomplished Rotarian, Renia Corocoto. And she's from Manila, Philippines. She's the head of a research and development, but I can't quite read the company. I think it's in Tagalog here or something. But rather than go through her business career, I want to emphasize her link to Rotary. 7 years ago, she was a scholar at Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. She was there because she was named a Peace Fellow by the Rotary International. And I think she said there were 21 other people vying for that position, so naturally they chose a good person. She's in the Partners of Peace program that she'll tell you about. And I think the way our club, what this kind of a program does is allows our club to have an international impact in things we're interested in promoting beyond what we can do here in Livermore. So I'd like you, and we found out we did have a common link that I didn't quite know about. I was just an interested bystander, an audience at the International Convention in Birmingham where Renia was a speaker. So at any rate, welcome very much to our club. And let's give her a hand.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Afternoon.
I know I'm short. You know what?
Would you like to
I am taller than our former president. She's 4'8" and I'm 5. And I'm as tall as our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. His height
get
is
her closer to the
5'8".
mic?
Would you like to use this one? Stand out here?
That's a good idea.
Prefer not to hold.
Don, move that bell over too, would you, please?
Yeah, just real loud.
Thank you.
My presentation is composed of 2 parts. First is my talk, and the second part is a dialogue with you. So I really appreciate, I would appreciate if you ask me questions about peace process and peace building in the Philippines. The Philippines, as you know, is an archipelagic country. We are a country of 7,100 islands. The population is around 92 million. 60% of that 92 million are considered poor. Before I left, I read in a newspaper, Philippine Daily Inquirer, it says that we are now considered as the newly industrialized country in Asia, Southeast Asia. Our economy for the past 3 years has been growing at the rate of 6 to 7% per annum, GDP growth rate. Let me tell you the character of conflict, the religion and ethnic groups in the Philippines, because this is necessary in understanding my my talk. 90% of Filipinos are Catholic, Christians. The rest are Muslims. Muslims that are located in the south of the Philippines. Among the Muslim Filipinos, there are 13 ethnic groups, and all over the country, there are around 50 ethnic groups. We call them indigenous peoples. The nature of conflict in the Philippines, especially in the south, I would classify them as conflict over territory, conflict over resources, and conflict over identity. The 3 major groups, rebel groups, revolutionary groups in the Philippines are the Moro National Liberation Front. Moro is the name of the Filipino Muslims. It is the name given by the Spaniards to the Filipino Muslims. The Moro National Liberation Front, we had a peace agreement with them in 1996. The second one, the MNLF, for short MNLF, when they had agreement with us, they have around 15 fighters, combatants, armed combatants. The second group is the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. It's a splinter group of the first one, the MNLF. The MILF has 17,000 fighters. So now you see, MNLF 15, the other one is 17, and the third one is the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army. It is the Maoist revolutionary groups. They are scattered all over the Philippines, in the hinterlands, in the poor areas of the country. They have 4,000 armed combatants. That is the Philippines. If you are in Manila, you can see the most beautiful, luxurious hotels. What you have here, maybe in the United States, we have it there, Marriott, Sofitel. You can see there in the city, the newest brand of car, big houses, mansions. Go out Metro Manila, go out the big cities, and you will see poverty. That's how my country is. It's a country of disparity, it's a country of inequality. I was already working in the Office of Presidential Advisor on the peace process, as I was handling then the rehabilitation of communities ravaged by war. I started working in peace building in 1998. In 2002, there was this advertisement in a popular newspaper in Manila that Rotary Foundation has a program, they call that Rotary Peace Fellowship. And I applied, we were 21, and I was the one who was granted this scholarship. I was in Berkeley in 2003 to 2005. I was with a group of 14 scholars. In each batch of us, each cohort, we are about 7. And Berkeley's program of the Rotary there was really wonderful, really wonderful. You know what? We came from various parts of the world. We have Muslims with us, Hindus with us, Buddhists with us. So it's really enriches me. You know, it's not just on academic aspect, but also in understanding people's culture, religion, and, you know, getting to be tolerant. Yes, in my work in the peace process in the Philippines, to be understanding, to be tolerant, it's something that you have to do. But in Berkeley, it was different. It was kind of transformation for me, you know, something that really emanated from my how's this, association, friendship with a classmate, a peace fellow from Pakistan, from India, from Tibet, and other parts of the world. The Peace Fellowship has a program called Applied Research. In my case, I spent my field research in ASEAN, in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, Indonesia. And then from there, I went to East Timor. Do you know East Timor? It is a newly independent country. It is in Southeast Asia, practically Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific. It's between Indonesia and Australia. East Timor was to be independent in 1970, but Indonesia invaded them. To be independent from Portugal, but Indonesia invaded them. And for 20 years, they fought the Indonesian government, and it was, I think, in 2001 that they obtained independence. And mind you, the United States of America was very helpful for the liberation, for the independence of East Timor. I think President Clinton was there. The UN was been helpful to them, and I think the intervention of the UN is still until now. What is the relevance of this? Out of my scholarship, I published 2 papers. One was published in the Rotary Monograph. The Rotary Foundation has a publication. The publication is composed of papers, academic papers, written by peace scholars from the 7 centers. Do you know that we have 7 centers? Yeah. Oh, in my time, you have in South America, in Argentina. In my time, but now I'm not sure what is the composition. In the United States, you have the Duke University in North Carolina and Berkeley. But Berkeley was closed 2 years ago. And we can talk about it after my speech. And Saint Po in France, Bradford University in UK, International Christian University in Tokyo, Japan, and in Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand. But the one that Rotary has in Bangkok, Thailand is not a regular masteral course. It is just a diploma course of 3 months. So it is a training. It is actually producing a lot of graduates because it is just a diploma program. Now you know how your peace building program is. So anyway, when I finished my studies, I went back to the Philippines and I went back to my former office and they gave me this position which is, at the start I was scared because they made me a director for peace research. You know, graduating in Berkeley, they thought that I have the answer to all solutions and I have answer to all problems. You know. But anyway, I took the challenge. And I have a good team, and I really appreciate that. And when I went back to the Philippines, it was the time that we had difficulty of negotiating with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. You know, there are so many issues against us. So what I did, with the help and support of my superior, nonetheless the secretary, she's a cabinet, I report directly to a secretary, and she's a cabinet member. The job that I have there, what I did to compensate the lull in the peace negotiation is to do confidence building. I conceptualize, manage, and source fund for conferences and dialogue of peace negotiators all throughout the world. I brought negotiators from Sudan, you know, South Sudan, Northern Ireland, Colombia, Aceh, Indonesia, and from the rest of the world, and even diplomats from the United Nations. I asked them to go to the Philippines, sit down also with our negotiators. And with the blessing of the Lord, I was even able to convince the leadership of the other side of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. They came to the conferences in the spirit of dialogue and conversation for us to find out how are we going to move forward, you know, learning from what other countries are doing. And also, these countries, also in the stage of conflict, are also learning from us because we have also so much to contribute to the world. Do you know that the Philippines is the only country besieged by conflict with an office for peace? Or maybe there's another one, but it's something unique to us. That is why Colombia in South America was so eager to see us, to visit us, and I brought them there. And wow, they really appreciated our effort because they learned from us. They have seen that unlike Colombia, they are more into disarming the armed groups, but in the Philippines, we are up to negotiated settlement. We want to talk to the other group. So that was my job for the past 5-6 years. Oh, I have still much time, so you have to bear with me. And after my talk, I will eat my lunch. So you see, I am a fair and just person. I follow the 4-week test. Now, sometimes in 2008, there was this big problem in the Philippines on the issues of armed groups. I told you, we have 17 fighters for the MLF, 4 for the CPP and PA, and MNLF around 15. And not only that, there are also private armed groups. We have also the terrorist group, you know, called Abu Sayyaf, who has been into kidnapping and linked with the Al-Qaeda. We have also a problem there of small arms proliferation, unlicensed, my God, unlicensed. You can buy them at maybe $100, you already have a short firearms. So that is the security situation in the Philippines, so complex, and it is affecting, you know, the direction of the peace talks. So our president then said, we have to do we have to integrate in our peace building the concept, the practice of DDR. What is DDR? DDR is defined by United Nations as D stands for disarmament, another D is for demobilization, and the third one is reintegration. In short, this is about laying down, surrendering of firearms, not to people, not the rebels, but their firearms, dismantling their military structure, rehabilitating them to become civilians like you and me. The traditional concept in the peace building is you do not talk about firearms. Firearms will just go away. It will disappear if there is a peace negotiation. But it doesn't happen. You know, in our comparative peace process, in the studies that I've done, firearms does not just disappear, even there's a peace agreement. There should be an action towards addressing firearms and combatants. So that was my job. I'm a woman, but I'm into it. I went to Colombia, I studied there, and also, you know, share with us our experience in the Philippines. I spoke at the DDR planning course in Oslo, Norway. I went to Sweden also on DDR issue. I gave a lecture. And I also went to UN in New York to talk with World Bank and other international organizations to help us on our DDR program. In 2010, we have a new president. Benigno Aquino was elected president. He's the son of first woman president, Cory Aquino. And he brought with him a new team in the peace process. So I have to left the office. When I left the office, there was this Rotarian who told me, you know, Renia, I just received an appointment to be the boss, to the big boss of a research institute. And you know, I am new in the government. Can you help me? Can you join me? And I joined her. So we work now with a research institute. And for me, it is a blessing because now I can speak freely like this one. You know, being in a research institute empowered you to have academic freedom. So now I can act as an analyst without bounds of confidentiality and security protocol. And then, 2 to 3 months ago, I received a call from another peace fellow in the Philippines. Do you know that in the Philippines there are already 10 to 15 peace fellows, and many of them graduated in Chulalongkorn? You supported them. Remember that. You supported them, and they're back in the Philippines, working in different offices, in different institutions. Many of them are NGOs, many of them in the armed forces. So it is something that you must be appreciating, that your money is bearing fruit. I received a call, and she said, her name is Inday Alcina. She said, do you know, Renia, that there is the 3 Rotary districts, 3 districts in the Philippines, covering the central and southern Philippines. They called me asking how we, the Peace Fellows, can help in the Rotary theme, Peace Through Service. So the Rotarians are asking for our contribution. What can we do to help them implement the new President Tanaka's vision of Peace Through Service? And so we gather ourselves, we have a planning session. From Manila, many of us are based in Manila. We went to Davao. We bought our own airfare ticket, plane ticket. We paid for our hotel because we are now trying in our small effort to give back to you what you have given us. So it's now time to reciprocate your generosity. So we went to Davao, that is in southern Philippines. There we had a planning session on how we are going to help the Rotarians in the Philippines implement the Peace Through Service and be part of the peace building of the Philippines. You know, the Rotarians, maybe just like in the US, they are businessmen. They are from private sector, and the attitude of the private sector is they are being distant to the issues of peace, distant, not indifferent but just distant. So what we produce, we the Peace Fellows produce, is a proposal, is a project, conference on Mindanao Peace Process. And we will do that February next year. And one good thing with our project is that it will be club presidents of the three districts who will be attending, and some of their officers. We are expecting to gather 200 club presidents and Rotary leaders. And we are not going to ask money from the Rotary. Our intention is not to ask money from the Rotary Philippine Rotarians, but we are going to do some fundraising. We are going to raise from the private sector. We are convincing them to help to be part of the peace process, peace building effort in the Philippines. And another good news not from me, but from the Filipinos as a whole, is that we have a peace agreement, signed peace agreement with them. Last Monday, October 15, we signed a peace agreement with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front.
Right.
I do not know if you have... Thank you. I do not know if you read it in your newspaper, maybe in Washington Post, or seen it in BBC, but it was covered by BBC, CNN, and even the State Department in Washington gave a public support, statement of support. I think it's the spokesman of Department of State. So we have a peace agreement with them yesterday. And I was surprised that there is a provision determined decommissioning. But in essence, it is DDR. It is the laying down of arms, the destruction of military structure, and the return of the combatants, of the fighters, to normal lives. So I was crying on Tuesday morning, yesterday, because it's just, we are 15 hours ahead. I was crying, very grateful that the things that I have worked for the past 7 years, get into the peace agreement. The term is different, but I believe the essence is different. Oh. Now, let me give you my parting words. I have to cut short my presentation because I have to eat my lunch before it's too late. I learned a lesson yesterday in a previous meeting. I've been talking, and when I went back to the table, the food is gone. Now, my parting words. This is not mine, but it is read. I read this in one of peace literature, which is common to me, common to the peace professionals. It says, I think it should be also your motto, our motto: contain conflict if necessary, resolve conflict if possible, best of all, prevent conflict. So now I will greet you peace from my own language, from my dialect, because I am not originally a Tagalog, I am a Visayan. In Visayan, peace is kalinaw. Kalinaw. And in Filipino, kapayapaan. So peace to all of you.
We have time for some questions.
Could you give me some understanding of some of the details? In particular, you mentioned DDR, disarm. How do you go about working with the opponents to get them disarmed? What kinds of things do you do to succeed at that?
Actually, DDR, or disarming combatants, especially by the rebel groups, it's something really difficult to talk about. The first instance, their immediate reaction, it is, you are asking us to surrender. But they have to understand that, even if you have peace agreement with them, but still you maintain your firearms, it is not building confidence on the peace agreement. People still are worried, fearful, that there is a peace agreement, but still you maintain firearms. Small, big, long-range firearms. It is not building confidence on the people of peace agreement. People still continue to live in fear. Now, how to convince them? This is what I did. I brought negotiators from Sudan, from Northern Ireland, for us help the other side think that DDR is necessary. It is something good. Before we have a sort of DDR, but it was more a counterinsurgency. It was not more as a peace building. It was counterinsurgency. The purpose is to weaken the enemy. But now we think of DDR as an instrument of peace. And yes, it is difficult, but we have to convince them. And it takes really creative ideas to do that. That's what I did, is to bring negotiators, peacemakers, UN people, Department of Peacekeeping Operation, bring them to the Philippines. Have these conferences wherein people from all walks of life, stakeholders especially, expresses their concern. Now they get the opinion and sentiment of people. And then produce papers, academic papers, journals, articles, to make it known, to have it, something to be grasped, think about by everyone, especially the parties in conflict. So I think, what we did has been helpful in producing a peace agreement with a provision there on decommissioning, or in short, DDR.
Renia, nagagalak ako makilala ka.
Maraming salamat.
Salamat po for all your peace work in Philippines. I am Reverend Joyce Perry-Moore, and I was a chaplain for some time at the Port of Oakland and met many, many Pinoy seafarers. It was very interesting. They would come to Oakland and they were very afraid of the violence in Oakland. And I said, "Where are you from?" They said, "Mindanao." And so I would talk with them about, I said, "Is everywhere violent in Mindanao?" And they said, "No, where I live, it's nice." So I said, "It's the same in Oakland." And it was interesting to have those conversations across cultures, because in Oakland also, there's a sense of identity for those growing up there, that they have to be involved in violence and conflict, and they need to learn ways of peace, as in Mindanao. And so I have a big heart for the Pinoy people, and understand that it's a very complex history of oppression and of being colonized by the Spaniards and then by United States and so, pardon me?
Japan.
And Japan. And so can you comment a little bit? I heard you say that you perceived it as a conflict of identity. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, because Philippine anthropology will tell you that the Philippine archipelago before colonization in 1521 were inhabited by different ethnic groups who are independent with each other. But we have relationship then with China, with the Middle East. In short, before the Spaniards came, the southern Philippine groups, ethnic groups there, were already Islamized, were Muslims. And the rest of the country, before the Spanish colonization, were animist, tribal groups. So it was the Muslim, before the colonization, that was considered as most advanced because of the Islamic civilization that the missionaries from Middle East brought. In 300 years of Spanish colonization, the Muslims were able to maintain their independence. We call that no effective colonization. 300 years, that's why they are still Muslims until now. The rest of the country were Christianized. But still in the hinterlands, Spaniards did not make it. That's why we have there, until now, the indigenous peoples. We call them the Igorots, the Kankanais, the Aitas, and so forth. The Spaniards, as I said in my speech, called them Moro. You know the Moro, they are the Muslims who invaded Spain, you know, the Moors. And you know, but I tell you honestly, I grew up, I'm a Christian, I grew up in a culture, in a Christian culture that has this perception, prejudice, that the Muslims are bad people, they're evil.